I'm Jim Steinmeyer, and I work with magicians creating magic, and I write about magic. Well,
The tough one.
yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, magicians have defined what they do in very interesting ways, but most recently I've said that magic is a theatrical performing art where one person cheats so that everybody else feels like they've won. And it's that one person who knows how to use elements of deception, how to exaggerate the truth, so that they can create a fantasy for the audience. I think the best quality a magician has is that he's empathetic with the audience, he or she. And I think in Latin America they call it simpático, right? And I think, we don't have as good a word as that, but it's the same thing. It's the fact that a magician walks on stage and everybody instantly wants to connect with that person. And I think that's appealing. And I think that helps tremendously because it helps the fantasy that the magician's telling, and it also endears him to the audience, endears him or her, and allows them to do their job better. Definitely people get better at it. Do you have to automatically have some of it? I don't know what to say. David Bamberg, Fu Manchu, he writes about it as if it's something you're born with, and he clearly had it. But yeah, I think it's something that people get good at and get better at and learn over time is how to relate to an audience. For many, many years, I didn't analyze it. I didn't talk about it because I think it was. I don't think I have any secret that I can say to somebody, here's how you do it. And I think the more people tell you how to do it, it keeps you from doing it, finding your own way. But what I would say is I keep notebooks. I just keep records. And it works. It's what people should do. It's what everybody should do, because you keep a log. And the problem is that people tend to write those things down, and they think of them as diaries, or they think of them as presentation books. And you think that you're going to show them to somebody, that they're a secret. Someday I will pull it out and I will become great. And that's the mistake. So my thing is, I say I keep a messy notebook, and all of those are important. I always keep writing in it. I'll do half an idea, or a little bit of an idea and stop if that's all I have, or I'll put a full routine in. But I never show it to anybody. I never show it to anybody. And I'm now 26 notebooks in, and they're just for me. But I can pull a notebook off from 20 years ago, and I can open it up, and I know exactly what I was doing then, because I can see the drawings, and I can see the notes, and I can understand all of that. So it's a really interesting thing, because the way I explain it is when you're thinking of something, you're making choices. So the tree starts to branch, and you decide to go this way, and then you decide to go this way, and then you decide to go this way, and you decide to go this way, and you decide to go this way, and hopefully you have a good idea. But now all of those things stopped. So how wonderful it is to go back into a notebook and go back pages and say, oh, I shouldn't have stopped there. And you can basically be inspired by the things you've done. Yeah. Well, I mean, styles change, so it's hard. So I love historical magic, but I love seeing it, and I love it because it's old-fashioned. But that isn't what an audience wants to see. I think it needs to be smart. I think it needs to compliment the audience for paying attention and for being smart. And I think it's flattering for the audience to do that. One of the things I talk about, I didn't talk about it in the lecture, but I talk about taste. Another mysterious word. I don't know how you would say it, but we say good taste, bad taste. Yeah, and good taste. People think, oh, good taste is about wearing the right clothes, having nice clothes, and saying the right things, and how to pour tea, and how that's all good taste. But good taste is also a compliment to the audience. It flatters the audience that you put attention into something. Okay, you wear nice clothes to look nice, but you're also saying to the audience, you're owed this respect. Okay, and so when a show is smart, when the patter is interesting, when you have something interesting to say, what you're saying to the audience, it's good taste, but it doesn't just reflect on you. It's what you're saying is, I went out of my way to give you as much as I could. I'm giving you as much as I can to compliment you and to say thank you for coming. I've looked my best. I've thought about this. I've rehearsed, and I think that that taste is what makes an audience interested and what keeps it interesting intellectually. It's really interesting. It's really changed. It's completely changed, and it's changing. It's changing. Styles of magic. I do think. This is slightly old-fashioned of me to say this, but I do think it's still about seeing it live. It still has an amazing impact seeing it live. Now, you can't bring an audience today live unless you have a presence, social media, to attract an audience. Back in my day, I used to think magic isn't very good on television. But could anything exist if it wasn't on television? And the answer is no. So operas, you have to have specials on public television for operas. You have to have ballet. Because you have to show people that this exists as a form. So I think that's also true of social media. I think that you're there as a presence, and you're there to tease them. And of course, we all hear it as magicians. We always hear it as magicians. You'll have an audience, and they'll say, "This is amazing. I've seen magicians on television, and I've seen magicians on YouTube, but I had no idea." And of course, you want to say, "Thank you for not believing in me, for not bothering to come." But what we see is that it's always completely different when you're there, personally. So I think all of this is a way of teasing the audience to come and see 100% of what you're doing, as opposed to 20% of what you're doing.
Besides of your book.
Yeah, no. And I don't recommend those. Well, I've always said there are only a few books on illusions that are necessary. In illusions, it's quite limited. Hopkins, Magic, Jarrett, David Devant, Secrets of My Magic, and Harbin's book about illusions, and they're fantastic. I think very solid book on card magic, like Royal Road. I think a book on presentation, like Henning Nelm's Magic and Showmanship, or Daryl Fitzke. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think that magicians need to see and read about theater as much as possible. Yeah, because it really is what we're doing. It really is what we're doing. And I think that we spend too much time trying to be different from that. And then, of course, when you're actually involved in that, you realize very quickly that that's part of it. And if you understand how a performer is directed, if you understand what someone does on stage, that's all. So it just helps everything very quickly. So I think good, solid books on theater. Easy. Oh, I absolutely 100%. Oh yeah, only three. I would say Devant. I would say Morit, personal hero of mine. I should say Thurston, but I think I know. I think I have a good sense of Thurston, and I don't know if I need to spend. Of picking three people, I don't know if I want to spend time with him. I would love to. I wish I knew more about Masculine. I wish I knew more about Jarrett. I'd love to talk to him about what he did, because I've spent time with it. And Harbin, yeah. For me personally. I'll tell you something that just came to mind recently. I was just telling somebody this story. It's probably not a true story, but it's a great story. And the story is that a young composer, 16 years old, goes to Mozart. And he says, "Can you help me? I would like to write a concerto. And could you explain to me how to write a concerto?" He says to Mozart. And Mozart says, "You're too young. Don't write a concerto. start with simpler forms of music, and then 5, 6 years come back and look at it writing a concerto. And the young man says, but he says, but when you were my age, you were writing concertos. And he says, but I didn't have to ask anybody how to do it. And I do think there's some of that. I think some people are really well suited to it, and some people work at it. And what I would say is, in the end result, it doesn't mean that one's better than the other, but sometimes it's about work, and sometimes it's about natural ability. Thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks. Good luck. Thank you.